You're not anxious because something is wrong. You're anxious because something ancient is running your life. This isn't intuition, and it's not trauma. It's a survival system that was never meant for this world. If you trust it, it will quietly sabotage your career, your relationships, and every big decision you make. There's a specific mental glitch behind that sudden dread, that defensive reaction, that feeling you just know something's off. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. This isn't about suppressing fear or thinking positive. It's about spotting the alarm before it hijacks you. Because the feeling you trust most might be the thing costing you everything. That feeling of anxiety you cannot shake. That argument that came out of nowhere. It is not random. It is a pattern. Your mind is doing exactly what it evolved to do. And it is costing you everything. You believe your gut reaction is telling you the truth. But what if it is the most sophisticated liar you have ever met? Your brain's threat detector is running on ancient software. It was built for a world of shadows in the grass and the snap of a twig in the dark. It was designed for immediate physical survival. That software is still running. But your world is one of emails, performance reviews, and difficult conversations. Your brain is using a Stone Age map to navigate a digital world. And the mismatch is quietly sabotaging your career, your relationships, and your peace of mind. That gut reaction you trust, that sudden knot in your stomach when your boss sends a one-word email, that flash of anger in a conversation with someone you love. It is a misfire, a false alarm from a system built for a world that no longer exists. This is not a flaw in your character. It is a glitch in your wiring that most people never, ever notice. They just live with the consequences. For years, I trusted that feeling. I called it intuition. I thought that jolt of certainty was a guide, a protector. Instead, it made me defensive. It made me assume the worst in people. It made me shut down opportunities before they ever had a chance to grow. My gut reactions were poisoning my life from the inside out. My own threat detector was the biggest threat I faced. And the moment I saw that, truly saw it, everything started to shift. Recognizing this pattern in yourself is the essential first step. It is the beginning of everything. You have to see how your own ingrained negative gut reactions are the source of the friction in your own life. Pay attention to your reaction right now. Think about the last time a gut feeling made you smaller, angrier, or more afraid. Once you see this pattern, you can never unsee it. You will start to notice it in every decision, every conversation, every moment of hesitation. This is the invisible glitch, and now you see it. But seeing the glitch is one thing. Hacking it is something else entirely. And that starts by understanding exactly why this ancient system holds you hostage. To understand the glitch in your thinking, you have to go way back. Your brain evolved for one primary purpose: survival. It did not evolve to make you happy. It did not evolve for fulfillment or joy. It evolved to keep you breathing until tomorrow. Period. To do that, it became an absolute expert at one thing: spotting threats. The rustle in the grass, the change in the wind, the unfamiliar shadow at the edge of the camp. For your ancestors, good things were a bonus. A sunny day was nice. Finding extra berries was great. But bad things were fatal. The tiger in the grass was not a learning experience. It was the end. This constant life-or-death scanning created a permanent imbalance, a default setting you never chose. It is called the negativity bias. Your mind is like Velcro for negative experiences, and it is like Teflon for positive ones. Think about this. One single criticism from your boss can completely erase 100 compliments from your team. One awkward comment in a conversation can haunt you for days. One piece of bad news can overshadow an entire week of wins. You do not just remember the bad stuff more. You feel it more intensely. You experience it on a deeper, more visceral level. That sting of embarrassment, the cold dread of a mistake, the heat of an argument. This is not a choice you are making. This is not a flaw in your character. It is your brain's ancient software running on modern hardware. This is the hidden reason you can have 10 things go right in a day, but you fixate on the one thing that went wrong. You lie in bed, replaying that one mistake. You ignore all the evidence of your success. It is your internal alarm system, still scanning the horizon for predators. Except now, the predator is a passive-aggressive email. The tiger is a weird look from a stranger in the grocery store. Your brain's threat detector is working perfectly. It is just scanning the wrong jungle. And this miscalculation is costing you more than just your peace of mind. It is silently shaping every decision you make. Here is the fatal design flaw, the one that is running your life right now. Your ancient threat detector is powerful, but it is also stupid. It has one button: red alert. It cannot tell the difference between a tiger in the brush and a critical email from your boss. It cannot distinguish a genuine physical threat from a social one, a snake from a sarcastic comment. To your alarm system, a threat is a threat, and it triggers the exact same full-body, high-stakes survival response every single time. Think about it. That traffic jam does not feel like an inconvenience. It feels like a personal attack. That short, one-word text message from your partner does not feel like a quick reply. It feels like a sign of impending doom. Your boss wanting a quick chat at 4:45 on a Friday. That triggers a full-blown cortisol flood. Your body prepares for a fight for its very life. Sound familiar? You know exactly what I am talking about. You live this. This is not a quirk. This is a system failure. A constant, grinding misfiring of your most primitive survival circuit. And it is costing you everything. It creates chronic, unrelenting stress. It burns your energy reserves down to nothing, leaving you exhausted for no clear reason. It clouds your judgment, making every decision feel 10 times heavier than it actually is. It forces you into a state of permanent defense. You are not making choices. You are reacting to phantom threats. Let us be brutally clear. Your threat detector is not protecting you anymore. It is not your shield. It is your prison. It has locked you in a cell of low-grade, simmering panic. Every notification, every awkward silence, every unexpected change is another rattle of the cage bars. The alarm never, ever shuts off. And living like that does not just change your mood. It fundamentally changes who you are. It rewires the very decisions that create your future. So let us pause, just for a moment. We have established the problem, the threat detector, the ancient software running on modern hardware. Your first instinct, when that negativity surges, is to fight it, to argue with the thought, to force yourself to feel better. This is the equivalent of trying to shout down a fire alarm that is bolted to the wall. You just exhaust yourself, and the alarm keeps ringing. So here is the first, most fundamental hack. It sounds too simple to work. That is precisely its power. You cannot fight a pattern you cannot see. You cannot change a program while it is running you. The first step is not to stop the feeling. It is to see the feeling, to see it for what it is. An echo, an old signal from a world that no longer exists. A ghost in the machine. The next time that wave of anxiety washes over you before a meeting, that spike of irritation when someone cuts you off, that sudden sinking feeling of dread about the future, do not fight it. Do not engage with it. Do not believe the story it is telling you. Instead, do this one thing. Simply name it. Say to yourself, silently or out loud, there it is. The threat detector is firing. That is it. Just that. Ah, the ancient alarm system is going off again. Notice what this does. There is no judgment in that phrase. There is no resistance. It is pure observation. You are not trying to fix anything. You are simply labeling the mechanism as it activates. In that moment of naming it, something profound happens. A space is created, a tiny, almost imperceptible gap between the trigger, the email, the comment, the memory, and your automatic conditioned response. Before, you were the anxiety. You were the anger. It consumed you completely. Now, for the first time, you are the one noticing the anxiety. You are the one observing the anger. You have separated yourself from the mechanism. You are no longer the feeling. You are the awareness behind the feeling. This small act of naming is the first crack in the armor of your automatic programming. It is the moment you stop being a passenger in your own mind and begin to learn how to take the wheel. This is where your power is reclaimed. Not with force, but with quiet, clear-eyed recognition. And through that single crack, everything else becomes possible. We have seen how this ancient wiring scans the world for threats, for predators in the grass and storms on the horizon. But here is where the pattern gets truly dangerous. Your threat detector does not just scan the environment. It scans the people closest to you. Your negativity bias is an expert at assuming the worst intent where there is none. It takes your partner's quietness after a long day and labels it anger. It interprets a friend's cancelled plan not as a scheduling conflict, but as a personal rejection. It hears a colleague's constructive feedback and calls it a direct attack. Your brain hates a vacuum, so it fills in the blanks, and it always fills them with the worst possible story. Think about the last time this happened. That knot in your stomach. That defensive text you almost sent. How many times have you spun an entire narrative of betrayal from a single neutral event? This constant low-level suspicion is a poison. It erodes trust one drop at a time. It creates conflict out of thin air. You are reacting to a threat that exists only in your head, but the damage it causes to your relationships, that is very, very real. I am telling you this because I lived it. This exact pattern almost dismantled the most important connections in my own life. I saw suspicion everywhere. I interpreted silence as judgment. My internal threat detector was running on overdrive, and it was pushing people away, especially my wife. It was not until I learned to actively de-bias this programming that things began to change. And they did not just change, they transformed. Applying these strategies has done wonders for me. It has rebuilt bridges I thought were collapsing. This is not just a theory. Actively hacking this bias is the single most powerful key to transforming your connections with the people you care about. It is the difference between a life of quiet conflict and a life of deep, genuine trust. So how do we stop the story-making machine in our head? How do we break the cycle of assuming the worst in others? It begins with recognizing the first critical signal your brain sends, a signal most people completely ignore. And that is exactly what we are going to uncover next. But here is where the pattern gets dangerous. This is where your ancient wiring starts to burn down your modern life. Once your threat detector creates a negative story, it has one mission: prove it right. Your brain immediately starts looking for evidence to support the verdict it already reached. This is the confirmation loop, and it is relentless. You get a feeling your partner is distant. That is the story. Now, the search for evidence begins. You start noticing every sigh, every short answer, every time they look at their phone. Each one becomes a clue. A piece of data that proves your initial fear was correct. You are building the case against them inside your own mind, piece by painful piece. And what about the evidence to the contrary? The hug they gave you this morning, the way they asked about your day, the plans they made for the weekend. Your brain does not just ignore this evidence. It actively dismisses it. It throws it out of court. It does not fit the story, so it must be an anomaly, a lie. Pay attention to what happens next. This is the critical moment. Your suspicion is not a secret. It leaks out. You act defensively. You get quiet. You ask leading questions. Your own behavior changes because you are operating from a place of fear. And how does your partner react to your new defensive posture? They get confused. They get guarded. They pull away. And there it is. The final piece of evidence you needed. See? I knew it. You end up creating the very reality you were afraid of. Stop and really hear this. You did not predict the future. You created it. Your fear, fed by a confirmation loop, changed your actions. Your actions changed their reactions, and their reaction confirmed your fear. This is the self-fulfilling prophecy in its most destructive form. This is not a bug. This is a feature of your threat detector. It is actively rewiring your relationships for failure. And if it can do this so easily with the people you love most, what is it doing to the rest of your life? The first story your brain tells is almost always a threat. A short text from your partner means they are angry. A last-minute meeting request from your boss means you are in trouble. A friend not calling back means you did something wrong. This is your threat detector on autopilot, and it builds a prison of anxiety around you, one false story at a time. But this is where you take back control. You can break this entire loop with one powerful question. What is another possible story? Your brain will resist this. It will fight you. It loves its first negative conclusion and will immediately start searching for evidence to confirm it. It does not want to be wrong. You must force it. This is not a gentle suggestion. It is a command you give your own mind. Force it to generate at least two other non-negative explanations. The story is not that they are angry. The other story is that their text was short because they are driving, and safety is more important than punctuation. The story is not that you are in trouble. The other story is that your boss wants to praise your work on a recent project in private. The story is not that your partner is pulling away. The other story is that they had a brutally stressful day, and what they need is your support, not your suspicion. This simple act is a neurological pattern interrupt. It short-circuits the confirmation bias loop before it can even start spinning. It instantly weakens the authority of that initial threat signal. You are telling your ancient brain that its first draft is not the final word. This moves you from a state of reactive defense into proactive problem-solving. This is the critical shift. As one person who mastered this described it, you become much more likely to notice challenges and head them off at the pass. You stop reacting to imagined threats and start engaging with actual reality. You start solving problems before they even become problems. Instead of spiraling about why your partner is quiet, you ask, "Tough day?" and offer support. You head off the conflict before it begins. This is not just about feeling better. It is about becoming more effective. It is about navigating the complexities of modern life with clarity instead of fear. And this proactive stance does not just change your day, it changes who you are. It rewires the very foundation of how you meet the world. We have talked about your thoughts, your moods, your relationships. But this pattern goes so much deeper. It scales up from your daily decisions to the entire trajectory of your life. Let us talk about the future you will never have. the one your threat detector is actively preventing. Stop and really hear this. Your negativity bias is the silent architect of your comfort zone. But that zone is not a warm, cozy space. It is a fortress. It was built wall by wall, decision by decision, to keep threats out. The problem is, it also keeps your life out. Every new opportunity is scanned by this ancient software, a new job in a different torn field, a chance to move to a new city. The simple thought of introducing yourself to someone you find interesting. Each one is flagged by your internal system as a massive, unacceptable threat. The potential for failure, the sting of rejection, the hot flash of embarrassment. These are not just possibilities. To your brain, they are certainties. And the alarm starts screaming, so you do not apply for the job. You tell yourself you are not qualified anyway. You do not move. You rationalize that it is too much of a hassle. You do not say hello. You decide they would not be interested. You listen to the alarm. You retreat back inside the fortress. You feel a momentary sense of relief. You dodged a bullet. But what did that safety actually cost you? The cost is not the failure you avoided. It is the life you never lived. It is the confidence you never built because you never faced the challenge. The skills you never learned because you never took the risk of being a beginner. The connections you never made because you never endured the vulnerability of that first conversation. The cost is the person you never became. Your threat detector, in its tireless quest to keep you safe from predators that no longer exist, is keeping you small. It is trading the possibility of a larger life for the certainty of a familiar one. It is a transaction that happens so quietly you do not even notice the price you are paying. And it is a price that compounds day after day, year after year, until the walls of your comfort zone become the borders of your world. And this leads to the most dangerous lie you tell yourself. It is a lie so pervasive you probably think it is the truth. The lie is, this is just who I am. You believe your personality is fixed. Your anxieties are permanent. Your patterns are set in stone. That is a fundamental misunderstanding of the human brain. The scientific truth has a name. It is called neuroplasticity. It means your brain is not a fixed object. It is a living, changing network that physically rewires itself based on one thing: what you focus on. Think of your mind as a landscape. Every time you indulge a negative thought loop, every time you replay an argument or rehearse a future failure, you are walking a path. The first time, it is just a faint trail. The 10th time, it is a clear path. The 1000th time, you have carved a deep trench in your own mind. You have built a superhighway for anxiety. Your brain does not go there because it is broken. It goes there because you have made it the easiest, most efficient route to take. But the reverse is also true. This is the part most people never realize they have power over. Every single time you interrupt that pattern, Every time you catch yourself spiraling and choose a different thought, you weaken that old road. You throw a little dirt in the trench. At the same time, you start a new path. It feels difficult at first. It feels unnatural. You are clearing a new trail, one step at a time. This is not just a nice metaphor. It is a physical reality. Researchers took a hard look at the brains of people who engaged in consistent practices like mindfulness and gratitude. They did not just find people who were happier. They found people with different brains. Their amygdala, the brain's primitive alarm center we have been talking about, had physically shrunk. It was quieter, less reactive. Meanwhile, their prefrontal cortex, the center for rational thought and emotional regulation, was stronger. It had more connections. They were not just thinking differently. They had literally built a different brain. You are not stuck with the mind you have today. You are the architect. You are the road builder. The trenches of anxiety and fear feel permanent, but they are not. You can build new roads. The only question is where you want them to lead. So we have seen how your brain is Teflon for good news and Velcro for the bad. We have seen how this ancient threat detector is running your modern life into the ground. This brings us to the most powerful hack for actively building those new roads in your mind. This is not about positive thinking. That is a weak defense against a system this powerful. This is about focused attention. This is a weapon. It is called the gratitude interruption. Your threat detector is an expert, a master craftsman at scanning for what is wrong, what is missing, what could go sideways. It has been practicing this search pattern every second of your life. The gratitude interruption forces it to do the exact opposite. It hijacks the search engine. Here is the drill. 3 times a day, set an alarm if you must. You stop. Whatever you are doing, you deliberately identify 3 specific things you are grateful for. And they must be specific. This is the entire key. Not vague concepts like my family or my health. Your brain dismisses those instantly. They have no texture, no grip. You need specifics. The way the sun felt on my face for 10 seconds this morning. The specific compliment my coworker gave me about that project. The taste of that first sip of coffee before the chaos began. This will feel unnatural at first. It will feel forced. It might even feel stupid. Pay attention to that resistance. That is the feeling of training a muscle you have let atrophy for decades. You are building something new from scratch. This is not about feeling good. That is a byproduct. This is a cognitive exercise, a command. You are ordering your brain, the most powerful search tool in the universe, to run a new query. You are forcing it to find evidence that contradicts its default programming. With every specific detail you notice, you are building the Teflon for good into something that finally has some stick. You are proving to your ancient wiring that a threat is not the only thing worth paying attention to. And what happens when this muscle gets stronger? The search pattern starts to run on its own. That is when the world around you begins to change. not because it has, but because you finally have the equipment to see it. After all this work, the noticing, the reframing, the deliberate practice, what does life actually look like? What does it feel like to live on the other side? Let us be clear about one thing. This is not about eliminating negative feelings. That was never the goal. Trying to erase fear or anxiety is a fight you will always lose. This is about changing your relationship with them. It is about taking your hand off the panic button. The alarm in your mind still rings. A perceived threat still triggers a response. But the sound is different now. It is quieter, more like a notification instead of a siren. And you do not automatically believe it is a 5-alarm fire. You do not have to evacuate the building every single time. This creates the single most valuable resource you can have. Space. The space to pause. The space to breathe. The space to respond with intention instead of reacting from instinct. That tiny gap between the feeling and the action is where your freedom lives. In that space, everything changes. You start to see opportunities where you once saw only risk. That new project at work is not just a chance to fail. It is a chance to grow. That conversation you have been avoiding is not just a potential conflict. It is a path to understanding. You can finally accept a compliment. You can hear the words, "good job," and just let them land. You do not have to immediately search for the hidden criticism or the ulterior motive. You can simply say thank you, and you can believe it. You can trust your partner's intentions without needing constant reassurance. You stop seeing a delayed text message as a sign of abandonment. You stop interpreting a quiet mood as proof of your own failure. You can finally rest in the relationship instead of constantly stress-testing its foundations. This is not about becoming a blissfully ignorant optimist. It is about becoming a clear-eyed realist. For the first time, you are seeing the full picture. You see the good and the bad, the light and the dark. You are no longer living in a world distorted by a threat detector stuck on high alert. You are simply seeing what is, and you realize you can handle it, all of it. Seeing this pattern is not easy. In fact, pay attention to your reaction right now. Notice the feeling in your body as you hear this. There is likely a part of you that wants to dismiss it, to call it an oversimplification, to find a reason why this does not apply to you. That resistance is real. That is the system trying to protect itself. It is the ancient wiring fighting to stay in control, to keep you safe in the way it has always known. It wants you to forget what you just learned. It wants you to go back to the way things were just a few minutes ago. Because the old way is predictable. The old way feels certain, even if that certainty is built on fear. The machine does not want you to see the ghost. But it is too late for that. You cannot unsee this now. You have been shown the blueprint. You now know the name of the ghost in your machine. You have seen the invisible code running behind your own eyes, influencing your decisions, coloring your relationships, and shaping the story you tell yourself about your own life. This knowledge is not a burden. It is the beginning of your freedom. It is the map you never knew you were missing, showing you the exact location of the cage you were born into. Knowing the pattern is the first and most critical step to breaking it. You are no longer fighting a shadow. You are facing something with a name, a history, and a purpose. And that changes everything. The negative gut reaction will still appear. The old wiring is deep. It is carved into your DNA by 1,000,000 years of survival. That first flash of anxiety when the phone rings unexpectedly. The default assumption of the worst-case scenario when you face uncertainty. The sting of a single criticism that outweighs 100 compliments. These things will not simply vanish, but now you will recognize them. You will no longer be lost inside the reaction. You will see it for what it is, an echo from a past that no longer exists, a threat detector that is calibrated for the dangers of the ancient savannah, not the challenges of your modern life. And in that moment of recognition, that tiny, quiet space between the trigger and your response, you will have a choice. It is a choice you never had before. You can see the alarm bell, and you can choose not to pull it. You can feel the old fear, thank it for trying to protect you, and then deliberately turn your attention toward a different possibility. You can let the echo fade without letting it command you. That quiet awareness, that space you just created for yourself, that is the hack. That is your power. That is where everything begins to change.